if you are letting people and situations ruin your mood for the entire day, if you tend to take things too personally, then here's how you actually detach and let go. Because I was the same. And once I realized that people's reactions are not about me, detachment became way easier. So here's the video's outline, and at the end I'm going to share a misconception that we all have about detachment that is preventing us to become detached in the first place. So let's get into it. How to detach and let go. First of all, the reason why your mood depends on external things is because you haven't built a strong inner foundation. Instead, your mood relies on external things, aka you let people, situations, things in general dictate how you're going to feel. And even worse, it's going to influence also your self-perception, your worth, because you've been relying on external things to be happy. And this is something that I did unconsciously without even realizing it for most of my life. But then I realized that it's a little bit shaky, because once people treat you badly, when you get a bad grade, once you don't get that person to like you, when something goes wrong in your day, you feel bad again. For the longest time, I felt like I was a leaf, constantly being pulled in different directions from the wind. I could not feel stable and secure within myself. I had also low self-worth, and especially as a sensitive person, I would take things so personally. And I've gotten better, but recently I experienced this again. And I was just so sick and tired of crying every time someone was screaming at me, being stressed at me, taking people's words and actions so personally, but that it would also determine my worth as a person. I was constantly replaying the conversations and interactions over and over again, trying to analyze them and ask myself, oh my god, what if I said this wrong and that's why now they're ignoring me? Then I asked myself, what if they're not ignoring me? Maybe they're just busy and you're just making up fake scenarios and overthinking everything. And this is not really sustainable in the long run, because your mood is shaken by external things very easily. So how do we finally regain our power back? How do we build that inner foundation, inner security? This is something that I like to associate with building a strong self-worth, because this is what it actually is about. Because I know how it feels like to just feel like everyone else is just not really taking things personally, and like it's as if you're the only one being too sensitive. Like, look at me right now, I'm crying. It just feels so unfair that you're the only one getting affected by these things, while other people are just brushing it off, not taking anything personally, just living life normally. Again, I just want you to stop blaming yourself, thinking that you're maybe too sensitive or there's something wrong with you. Actually, there's nothing wrong with you. You just haven't built that strong inner foundation, which is what we're going to get into later. And that you will never know if someone is going through it or not, if they are also overthinking or not, because some people are just very good at putting a facade or just pretending that everything is fine, because you only see your own moments of you crying, you overthinking, you overanalyze over every small interactions that you had. And just like you are doing it by yourself when you get home, you will never know if someone else is doing it, because you will never see them doing that in front of you, you know. I think that everyone has these moments of taking things too personally, having a stressed day. We all had these moments where we overthink a lot. Yeah, some people are naturally more sensitive than others. Maybe some people just don't take things personally as we do. But again, you're not wrong for being like this, and they're not wrong for being like that. We are just different, and that's okay. So I'm going to share some tips and actions now that are going to make you become so unbothered, so sure of ourselves that every time someone says something to you, does something to you in your face, you're just unbothered, and you may even laugh it off. They're going to stop making your mood be dependent on external things and people. So first tip, stop putting other people's opinions on a pedestal. I think that most people take things so personally is because they haven't learned to rate themselves. And instead, they put other people's actions and opinions on a pedestal as if they are more important than our own. So every time someone does something bad to you, someone screams at you, insults you, you take it so personally because you think that they are right. Every time someone criticizes you and judges you, you think, oh my god, maybe they are right, maybe I shouldn't do this. They're making fun of me, so maybe this path that I'm pursuing right now is not really realistic. But what about your opinion? What you think about matters too. In fact, your thoughts and opinions of what you should do in your life about people is also as important as theirs, if not more, because you're the only one who has lived your life 100% fully by yourself. You know what you like, what you don't like, what you want in the future, or maybe you're just trying to figure it out. Why are letting other people's opinions and actions towards you dictate how you feel if they don't even know themselves what they want in their life? So one action I want you to implement for this is to look at the facts. Every time someone does something to you, says something that you're stupid or have bad memory, you just cannot do anything right, look at the facts. Are you improving? Are you learning? And is it truly real that you have bad memory? Like, for example, I heard from multiple people that have a bad memory. But is that actually true? Because I used to take this so personally. Like, I would think that maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I have a brain malfunction, something like that. This happened like 1 week ago. I started to ask myself, is this actually true? Because someone who has bad memory wouldn't get good grades at school like I did, wouldn't learn English fluently in 6 months like I did at 16 years old, and now who's making YouTube videos talking in English. It seems like I have a pretty good functioning brain. So look at the facts and don't get influenced by your emotions. Because when we feel bad about something, we tend to think that it's real. We feel sad because someone told us that we are stupid. We tend to believe it. But look at the facts, look at the logic. That's how you develop one crucial skill in life that I think a lot of people lack, which is critical thinking. The ability to observe your life as a third person and know what is good for you and what is not good for you, what is a fact and what is not a fact, and what is just other people projecting onto you and just exaggerating. And with this mindset, try to do whatever you want without this fear of what people are going to think about you and just ruin your day. Support yourself and validate yourself in these moments. This is a muscle. Second tip, know how to set boundaries. I know that some of you are going to say, what if I live with my family members and even friends at school that constantly tear me down, which brings me into a low emotional state every single day, every single time I interact with them. If they constantly scream at me and criticize me, how can I freaking detach? And I know it's going to be hard, but sometimes it's very important to communicate your boundaries and see if they change, which consists of 2 steps, which is communicating your problem and how you feel when they treat you like that. For example, hey, I feel very stressed and hurt when you scream at me. Can you please don't do that? And the second step is to say something that is going to make them feel understood so they don't feel defensive. So it's going to be something like, I know that it's not your intention to hurt me. I know that you want the best for me. And I would appreciate if you just try to improve. And then the third final step is communicating a consequence, which is crucial. This is what boundaries are about. So it's going to be something like, next time if you scream and criticize me again when we are arguing with each other, then I'm going to step back, leave the conversation until the situation is going to be calmer and more stable. This is what boundaries are about. Communicating the problem, how you feel, and stating a consequence. If they improve, then that's right. Because I think that sometimes we are so afraid to communicate boundaries because we think that maybe that person is going to be defensive about it and blame us. Which is very common. I feel you if you grew up in a family where they constantly guilt trip you and criticize you and turn the blame onto you. And sometimes maybe they're not even necessarily toxic. They just lack self-awareness and no one has ever taught them that screaming and criticizing is not normal. I've been in these situations over and over again where I communicated a boundary and the other person just kept doing that hurtful behavior towards me. And later I realized that they just grew up thinking that that behavior is normal. So by understanding this, already makes me feel so much better. and makes me take things less personally. But sometimes it's also worth stepping back and distancing yourself from these people, because obviously, even though you understand their behavior, why they're doing that, you should still protect your own peace by reducing interactions, by keeping answers short, and just spending time with other people who uplift you, support you, and who are more positive. And stop fighting them and try to change them. Like, this is a trap that I fell into over and over again. I know it's difficult to just stop, because if you stop trying to change them, what you're essentially doing is to bury your ego alive in the ground. Stop needing to be right, but instead you're choosing peace and acceptance that they are never going to change. And the worst part that is making this way difficult is knowing that they think that they are right. But ask yourself, is it worth it to waste your energy, time, and effort in these people who are never going to change? Like, we focus so much on other people's potential, and we need to learn to just accept them, observe, and realize who they are, that in 1 year, 5 years, they're going to probably be the same. And sometimes the paradox, not always, but the very second you step back and stop trying to change them, and you just accept them and leave them for who they are, this is the exact moment where they start to change. Because first of all, some people just don't change because other people told them to, but they change because they know the consequence, the fact that you're distancing yourself from them. Or they just change when they decide to, or maybe they are never going to change. So here's the thing that you've been waiting for so long, and finally I'm going to tell you a misconception that a lot of us have that is preventing us to detach in the first place. That detachment is not about feeling nothing and not being affected by anything. I know it sounds strange, because in those last tips that I gave you were actually about how to detach yourself emotionally and not get affected by people and situations. What I meant by them is the fact that truly detached people, they do feel. They choose to pause and not react and take things personally, and instead redirect their energy and attention towards something else. And they choose how to respond to that thing, situation, person in a healthy way that is going to protect their peace. So you can feel bad, you can feel hurt when someone criticizes you. Like, we are human, we are always going to feel something. But every time you practice this pausing and choosing how to respond to that thing and then redirect your energy towards something else, that's how you train the skill of detachment. There are going to be days and months and weeks where you're going to fall into this pattern again of taking things personally, like I just experienced last week. And the best way to describe the difference between healthy detachment and unhealthy detachment is looking at how person A responds, which is the detached one, and person B, which is the bothered one. So let's start with person B.
Why do you constantly forget things? You're so stupid. You have bad memory.
Oh, maybe they're right. Maybe, oh my god, like maybe there's something wrong with me. I'm like stupid, and maybe I do have a bad memory. And I feel so hurt. Like, why do they always scream at me? And then person A, I feel hurt. It doesn't feel good to be screamed at like this. But again, they're probably just stressed, and I don't need to take it too personally. By looking at the facts, I do think that I'm a capable person, that I have a good memory. They are just exaggerating things because of their current stressful emotions. Anyway, now I'm going to focus on my hobbies. I should just accept who they are and try to protect my peace next time. See the difference? The difference between unhealthy and healthy detachment is what happens after feeling hurt, because both of them felt hurt. The person A decided to pause for a second and not take things personally and define who she is and her worth. Person B started to internalize this criticism and feel bad about it and take things personally, and just let that person ruin her mood for the rest of the day. And guess what? 1 week ago, I was exactly like person B. Every time person A makes mistakes, they don't internalize it and make it define who they are, but they just learn and understand it and try to improve the next time and that's it. And I know it feels so invalidating every time someone says, oh, don't take it personally, like it's not about you, it's about them, they're going through it. I felt like I could never stop seeking external validation, taking things too personally, and let external things dictate my mood for the rest of the day and my self-perception and self-worth. I kept practicing detachment, and every time I practiced it, I got better. And without even realizing, you're going to become that detached person sooner than you realize. And you're going to think, oh my god, like why am I suddenly detached? And it's going to feel so sudden, but it's actually not, because you know that it's a result of all the tiny little shifts that you had over the past few days and weeks. I know you can do it. We are in this together. If you really want to build a strong sense of self-worth, then this video is going to help you specifically in that, so you're going to stop seeking external validation ever again.